Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The feature race at Churchill Downs on Saturday is the Grade 3 Bashford Manor for 2-year-olds. Carded as race number 11. We've got a full field. Let's take a look at these 2-year-olds right now. Your morning line favorite, I would expect, Matt, to be the 9, Tales of Chaucer. We don't have the morning line just yet, but 84 Beyer speed figure in the career debut. I mean, with a name like Tales of Chaucer, you'd think he'd debut at Canterbury, but instead he was a wire-to-wire winner at Belmont.
Yeah, and he was impressive doing so. Sloppy sealed main track that day, breaks down toward the inside, establishes early position, and really never looks back. I really have no knocks about that effort, all things considered. You look at the pedigree, it's there. There's a precocious pedigree. I think that's kind of the interesting thing about this horse. Makes me wonder ultimately long-term what he ends up being. But as far as win early 2-year-old sort of situation, he kind of fits the bill. If they run here, I think he is strictly the horse to beat. If they run in the New York Bred Stakes race over the weekend, he's obviously the horse to beat up there. But if I were the connections, I'd run him here.
Well, with that best last Beyer showing, he would be very tough in here. His dam won 8 sprints. He's kin to 3 black type earners, including 2 multiple stakes winners at 2. New York breds both, Filibuston and Indy's Lady. Tales of Chaucer, very interesting if he runs in this race, especially with the Timeform U.S. pace projector. We expect a fast pace with a big field, and Tales of Chaucer, the 9, he's out there on the lead. He went 5 in the slop in the debut. You never know what they're going to do stretching out a furlong over a fast track, but boy, again, he was impressive first time out. Let's take a look at some of the others. I thought the 1 Shanghai Rue looked good in his debut for Brett Calhoun at Keeneland. I mean, he took down a Wesley Ward horse that came back to run second in the Kentucky Juvenile behind Weiland, the number 2 who we'll get to in a minute. This inside post can be intimidating for these young 2-year-olds, but I liked what I saw from Shanghai Rue, and the dam was a really nice Texas bred, a multiple stakes winner.
Yeah, I agree about breaking down in the rail, but I think we can sort of, maybe the concerns are a little bit squashed simply because this horse shot up the inside the way that he did in that career debut. I agree with you. I thought it was an impressive effort from a time form standpoint. He fits well. I disagree with the pace projector. It may be a fast pace, but with a horse like Shanghai Rue down to the inside, with some of the other speed drawn to the inside of Tales of Chaucer, I can't imagine there's a scenario where Tales of Chaucer just clears off and is that much faster than everyone else. I think there's some legitimately fast horses in here, and I think it's going to be a little bit more heated and maybe a little bit more contended up on the front end.
I tend to agree, and that actually might work against Tales of Chaucer, who was able to get clear in his debut. Let's talk a little bit about Weiland. What tremendous improvement from start 1 to 2, winning the $100,000 Kentucky Juvenile as a second start maiden, paying about $40 and change to win it. He looked pretty good. Something tells me this is a lot tougher field.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you're going to be getting a real acid test here in the third lifetime start. I have no real knocks against that most recent effort other than the fact that the waters get much deeper here. From a Beyer standpoint, though, if you think he takes some sort of a step forward, he's not that far out of it, out of the realm of possibility.
Baytown Glory is the number 3, another horse that improved from start 1 to start 2, although he really took a tremendous drop in class from that maiden special weight at Keeneland to the maiden at Indiana, and he just had a nice trip last time out as the odds-on favorite, blinkers on.
He also defeated an absolutely horrific field. There have been 3 horses to come back and run. They've earned -0, -0, and 7 Beyers. This is going to be far and away the most difficult test.
The 4 Sir Troubadour looks like an intriguing contender for the always dangerous Steve Asmussen barn. This horse has a lot of turf in his pedigree. His dam was stakes placed in France. This horse is a foal to Regally Ready, who of course won the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Nice debut effort at Churchill Downs in the slop, and I thought a good learning experience last time in the Tremont when forced to take a little dirt and come from off with a pace. If the pace is fast, I think this horse is interesting.
I agree. There's a part of me that wonders if he is one of the more likely win candidates in here, because that Tremont, I thought he got a lot sort of accomplished as far as educational things are concerned, because like you say, he was gate to wire in the debut and he was forced to do something differently, and I thought he ran just fine. It was an inoffensive effort in that most recent start at Belmont. Now you get back here, the distance shouldn't be an issue for him, the pedigree is there. I think there's a scenario where he may end up slipping through the cracks a little bit with some of these other names that are a little bit sort of more talked about. I think Sir Troubadour is legitimate.
Mr. Chocolate chips out of a stakes-winning dam. She won on the turf at 2 against fellow Florida breds, another horse that improved second time out with the addition of blinkers. But talk about a weak field. That was not a good group that he beat last time out at 30 to 1.
The runner-up a -0, the third place finisher a 1, and the fourth place finisher a -0. No thanks.
The number 6 is the Song of John, and I guess of the outsiders in this race, I'd be a little bit interested in the Song of John, maybe to clunk up and get a piece of this at a pretty big price. He's by Colonel John, but the dam was grade 3 placed going long on the dirt as a 2-year-old. I thought it was a solid debut. There was a pretty good pace going on at Indiana Grand. Yes, he's got to build tremendously off that 45 buyer, but how many times have we seen second-time 2-year-olds really explode from a number standpoint?
I thought long and hard about picking him in here. There's a couple of horses that are slow on paper that I think can take a big step forward here. He's one of them. You brought up an interesting piece, though. I thought he was very green in the debut, but I liked everything I saw there. But then you factor in the Colonel John, you factor in the turf on the dam side. I mean, the dam was a sibling to Flag Down, who was a multiple graded stakes turf router winner, I should say. I think there's a lot to like here. I do wonder down the road, is he ultimately going to end up being a turf horse, though?
The number 7 is I Cloud. This horse only beat 3 others at Evangeline on May the 12th. It was not a strong field. The buyer came back weak. He's got a lot of work to do on Saturday.
Yeah, going to need to prove that he can hang with the big boys in this spot at this stage anyway. For what it's worth, he's a half the hot body who was a stakes winner and a nice dirt sprinter, and the dam was a sibling to Raging Fever, who was a multiple grade 1 winner. So there's a little bit of talent and ability back in the dam side of things, but again, you brought it up, he's going to need to improve.
Trainer Wayne Rice has both the 8 Mr. Granite and the 10 Dalliance coming off maiden wins over the Tapeta surface at Presque Isle Downs. Here's a formulator fact, and maybe we shouldn't put too much credence into it because both of these horses will be giant prices, but over the past 4 years, moving from synthetic to dirt, the barn's only 1 for 42 with an 11-cent ROI. Mr. Granite showed much improved early speed last time out. Was it simply a situation where the blinkers woke this horse up and he's ready to be a good horse, or did he just take to that synth?
I think it could be just a combination of things where, with the synthetic, he may have really appreciated it. The blinkers probably didn't hurt his cause. But the problem here really is just at this point, he's run 3 times and he's yet to run overly fast. He's going to need to improve by leaps and bounds to even get a sniff of this thing.
Dalliance was very professional, I thought, winning last time out at Presque Isle Downs over the synth, and he actually did run well at 75-1 in his career debut on dirt at Keeneland. He could benefit from a quick and contested pace up front, much as he did last time out.
Yeah, he's paired up 58 buyers, I suppose maybe you think there's a forward move in there. I like the fact that he can come from off the pace. And again, if you think that the pace heats up in here, that's going to work to his advantage. At the end of the day, though, he's going to need to jump up in a big way as well.
The 11 Toothless Wonder looks like a strong contender from the Doug O'Neill barn. This is a half-brother to the very fast The Money Monster, who is a stakes winner sprinting at Churchill Downs. Toothless Wonder really improved second time out. He got a nice trip, but this was a horse that took on a talented firster into Jory in the debut, was making up some late ground. There's always been a little bit of buzz about this horse.
Yeah, I liked him in that debut, and I didn't think he ran poorly, all things considered. He came back and broke his maiden. You see that there was 5.5 lengths between the second and third place finishers in the most recent start. Synthesis came back and earned a 62. That was the third place finisher in his next start. And in that debut, you brought up Tajori, and even the third place finisher, Sparkyville, came back and broke his maiden in his next start with a 68 buyer. I think this horse makes a lot of sense. The interesting thing that I found anyway, from a time form standpoint, you look at the pace ratings for the races that he's run. Coming in from California, he's actually faced some of the softest paces that any of these horses in the field have encountered. So I wonder how far back he's going to be early on if they really do throw it down.
But at least it was interesting to see that he could pass a couple of horses in his debut going 4.5. Cat Addiction, the number 12, honestly, I was surprised to see this horse dangled for $50,000, considering his pedigree. He's a half to Snapper Sinclair, a stakes winner on turf. The dam was grade 2 place sprinting on dirt as a 2-year-old, and Asmussen put him in for 50, and boy, he scored from off the pace nicely over a sloppy track in slow time. Nice to see the third place finisher come back to win, but he did so against $40,000 maiden claimers.
Yeah, that third place finisher, he graduated next out with only a 50 buyer. But I think if you like a horse like this, like I do, I think it's a matter of you're hopeful that there's going to be a forward move here, obviously, in order to get faster and possibly win this race. But what he did and what he overcame in that debut, he was down on the inside. He got shuffled back. He was in real tight. He came with this big, wide move, circled up the field, and absolutely rolled home. Now, it's one thing to do it against 50 claimers in your career debut and then horses that may or may not be able to run at all, and then do it against this kind of caliber field. But I think if this pace heats up, I think he's going to be able to finish in a spot like this. And like you say, the pedigree is there for him to be a decent horse. I think he's an interesting sort of longer price coming from off the pace.
Completing this big field is the 13 Over Analyzer, a debut winner at Indiana Grand, beat only 5 foes, but again did so in solid workmanlike fashion. This is a tough post position and a tough step up in class.
Yeah, he's going to jump up in a big way. I'm going to be curious to see what he turns into. His dam was only 1 for 13 overall, and her only victory came on turf. And you look at all the turf on the dam side, go way back. You've got Royal Mountain High, Highland Crystal, Miss Josh. They're all grade stakes turf route winners. I thought this horse was okay. I didn't think it was a spectacular debut, but again, could easily take a step forward and start 2.
Take a look at our top selections for Saturday's feature race at Churchill Downs. You're going to go with the Asmussen horse, the 12 Cat Addiction, who overcame all that trouble and despite winning only a maiden claimer, has got a big pedigree and might get a big pace to attack. I think you're going to get a price.
I agree. I would imagine he's going to be at least double digits, if not much farther high or much north of that. I think this is a situation where the horse, again, what he showed in the debut, it was enough to make me look at it and say he can overcome adversity. He can pass horses. If for some reason it comes up wet, that won't be a problem. And the fact that Asmussen is going to throw him right into this situation, right to the Wolves in the second lifetime start, I think that's all a positive. And again, if this pace heats up, I think he's going to come with a big run.
You mentioned the precocity and Tales of Chaucer's pedigree, and I think that's what's going to see him through here if trainer Norm Cassie decides to run. He's my top selection. If he's out, I like the California horse, the 11 Toothless Wonder, who I think is slowly getting better. My top 4 picks in here are 9, 11, 4, and 2. And the grade 3, Bashford Manor. It's race 11 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, and it has an approximate post time of 5:56 Eastern. Good luck.